Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from What Culture.
And I'm Andy Murray from What Culture, and today we're going to talk about Ric Flair being done with WWE for the time being, and as well as that, got a story on the former WWE wrestler who worked for the Impact Wrestling World Championship in his first match back with the company last night.
Plus, the real reason this Kevin Owens storyline was dropped, and are WWE finally pushing Shayna Baszler correctly? This is the news.
Kick things off by talking a bit of Ric Flair. A report here from WrestlingNews.co's Paul Davis saying basically that Flair is done with WWE for the time being. This week's angle with Randy Orton was intended as a write-off. Flair's going on a little hiatus. He's still under contract with the company, of course, but his current role as like a regular TV contributor is seemingly over. Now, the same source had previously reported that Flair was originally going to be written off after the conclusion of Randy Orton and Big Show's mini feud. However, he had to miss some TV because his wife tested positive for the thing. That had to be cancelled. They brought him back for a couple of weeks. They've done this little Owens program. Now Flair is done. Raw, of course, he was kicked in the dick and punted in the head by Randy Orton while the lights dimmed because he's old and he's sick and he can't take a bump. Drew McIntyre ran out to kind of run Randy over. Run him off. He didn't come out in a car and squash him. Run him off and save Flair. So WWE have come in for a lot of criticism, and understandably so, for using Flair during what's been currently going on. He's 71 years old. He almost died a couple of years ago. He had some serious health problems. So he's an at-risk person. It's probably best for everyone involved if he takes this time off. And the angle was really good. So, hey, good news all round.
Yeah, like you said, I think this is the best thing for everyone. It's a great springboard to send Randy Orton to SummerSlam as even more of a bastard, kicking a 71-year-old in the head on the way. I love the people seeing this story and going, oh, Ric Flair's going to AEW then? No, he's not going to AEW. As Andy said, he's contracted to WWE. He probably wouldn't want to ruin the Flair name with WWE either, what with his daughter being there. And he's 71. Can't he have a bit of a rest rather than just leaping to the other promotion? You know, he's not John Moxley right now at the end of the day. But yeah, I think this is the best thing, as I said, for everyone. And they utilised him really well. There's a lot of question marks as to why he was just hanging about. But if this was the plan all along, then fair play.
Exactly.
Right, let's talk a little bit more about someone who's been involved with Randy Orton recently. Kevin Owens, who, of course, had a match against him on Monday Night Raw, although that wasn't the original plans for Kevin Owens around this time of year. According to Dave Meltzer on the latest episode of Wrestling Observer Radio, Kevin Owens was supposed to be feuding with Seth Rollins right about now. I know what you're thinking, because I thought the same thing. Again? Didn't they just do this at WrestleMania? Well, yeah, that was the original plans. They were going to sort of run back Owens against the Monday Night Messiah at SummerSlam, but they changed their minds, WWE, when they learned that Rey Mysterio was almost certainly re-signing with the promotion. Therefore, they started this storyline with Rey's son Dominic, which of course leads to the Seth Rollins versus Dominic brackets. Dominic is allowed to use all the bloody weapons, especially because of what happened to him on Monday Night Raw at SummerSlam on a week on Sunday. Andy, I mean, I love Kevin Owens. I really enjoy what they're doing with Seth Rollins right about now, but I didn't need to see that match again, and I don't know how you really top the match that they had in terms of an empty arena match when Kevin Owens jumped off the bloody WrestleMania sign.
Yeah, it's a very high bar to leap over again, isn't it? It was a really good match at WrestleMania, a good storyline and so forth, but this is probably a blessing in disguise that they've gone down a different route. I think for the most part, like the stuff with Seth, as repetitive as his promos can be from time to time, but the stuff with him and the Mysterios has been well done. Dominic has great fire. He looks like a really good seller as well. Really looking forward to see how he wrestles. And, a lot of the Rey stuff was great as well. Obviously, we have our laugh of the eye for an eye match and the way it ended. But even with that match, right, it ended in hilarity, but it was really good and heated and bitter up until that point. So there's a lot of good stuff that has come from this decision. And Rey probably sticking around with WWE as well. In the Observer last week, Dave wrote something like, hey, if you think he's leaving, you're a moron. He didn't. I'm paraphrasing greatly, but that was effectively what he was saying. So, It makes sense, and the Rey and Dominic feud has been good, and now we have the weirdness of Dominic beating Seth at SummerSlam using his father's ping pong ball eye as the match-winning weapon. Let's pivot over to Impact a little bit. Last night's Impact Wrestling, Eddie Edwards, the world champion, he's been doing this Open Challenge series, but this week, he did something a little bit different. He said, Eric Young, I want you, you world-class maniac. That's his nickname. Eric Young didn't come out. Brian Myers came out. That's the former Curt Hawkins. Seen a few vignettes for him coming back to Impact over the past few weeks. He challenged for the world title. He lost, he was defeated, but it was a back and forth match, relatively 50-50, good stuff all around. Myers got plenty of offense in before eventually falling to Edwards. So this marks his proper return. Fighting for the Impact Wrestling World title on your first night back, that's not a bad way to come back in. That's a good way to establish yourself even in defeat. But he's been with Impact before briefly. He was there in 2015. I think it was part of the GFW invasion. Jeff Jarrett, who always wins. He was tag team champion for a very brief period, holding the belts alongside Trevor Lee, who you might know as Cameron Grimes in WWE. Actually beat Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards for those belts 5 years ago. So it's a nice kind of like, whether it was on purpose or not, it's kind of a nice circle there, coming back and facing Edwards again here. Good for him. Let's see what he can do, man. You never know what these people are capable of until they're allowed to fully spread their creative wings. Good luck to Brian Myers. He's one of many ex-WWE wrestlers who have crossed over. Eric Young, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, Deonna Purrazzo, Heath Slate. Sorry, just Heath. Impact Wrestling making moves. Let's see what he does next.
Absolutely. Congratulations to him. By all accounts, like you say, good little match for the title last night. And I really like what Impact are doing with picking up the Black Wednesday victims, let's say, for WWE. Like, yes, there will always be the accusations of, it's like the old TNA just picking up all of WWE's cast-offs. But they seemingly have a plan with everyone that they have signed. It's not like they've gone, right, everyone who got fired will sign you. But, yeah, Gallows and Anderson, of course you sign someone like that. EC3. I mean, we talked yesterday about how they wasted EC3 and how much he can do when he's not being told to talk like a bloody weatherman. So I'm excited to see where things go for all the new Impact signings, but I really think it's added something to that roster. And, they had some talented guys there, but now putting the names alongside them, I think is really going to help matters. I can't wait to see what happens next. And if you're not watching Impact Wrestling yet, go and check it out. It really is worth a watch. Just like Raw Underground.
Hey!
Segue. Of course, Shayna Baszler finally getting featured on Raw Underground this week. Looked great. She just sort of went into the crowd when no one fancied a fight, picked 3 girls out and fought them all at the same time, beat them all up, choked one of them out. And reports have come in from Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer Live that these aren't just random people, random fans or whatever. 2 of them are independent wrestlers, Marina Tucker and Sophia Castillo. But the one she tapped out, Emily Anzulis, is an NXT athlete. I believe, I've listened to this sort of whilst I was getting ready this morning. She was also involved in the Titan Games, but she has some legit MMA pedigree. But she was told, act like you haven't got a bloody clue. Basically, she's trained in combat sports. She's particularly trained in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But when she was brawling with Shayna Baszler, she was told, just act like you're a normal person who Shayna Baszler has attacked. Obviously to make Shayna Baszler look amazing, look dominant, which is really good, but kind of weird considering you've got someone who could actually really showcase the intricacies of MMA, and you've just gone, just put your hands by your side and take your beating. But what I read into this, Andy, was, right, so yes, whilst it's all weird, the whole don't do any MMA stuff to an actual MMA person who's got an very small, but an MMA record nonetheless, but is the fact that they may finally be pushing Shayna Baszler correctly.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, it remains to be seen how long the Underground's going to last, because we know WWE changed their mind on a whim. It could be gone next week for all we know, or it could stay for 5 years. Either is possible. But yeah, it was a really good way to present her. She just ran through these people 3-on-1. She came across strong. She looked like a dominant bully. I'm all for it. Get her right and you will make money.
Yes, more of this, please. Preferably with Samoa Joe doing some commentary rather than Shane McMahon just shouting into a microphone.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions. At What Culture WWE, of course, if you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from Jake, who says, with Asuka challenging Sasha for the Raw Women's Championship, could Asuka now enter the Battle Royal on SmackDown to then challenge Bayley for her Women's Championship to possibly become a double champ at SummerSlam? I hadn't even thought about this, Andy.
I hadn't thought of that either. I'm not sure it's a route they would go down, but I think it has kind of like a nice bit of symmetry there with Sasha and Bayley having 2 belts each at the moment, the tag team titles, of course. Asuka coming through and wrecking both of them for their singles belts would be, it would be a nice left field angle. I'm not entirely sure it's the thing that if I had the pencil, I would go for personally, but man, I think it's a pretty cool idea, so let's see if it happens.
Yeah, I just love how up in the air this SmackDown Women's Championship match at SummerSlam is. Like, I've no doubt we'll probably do a podcast on it, What Culture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcast from, because it could be anyone, as they've said, from SmackDown. Probably won't be from SmackDown if push comes to shove, because they've kind of run through all of her opponents there. Could be someone from Raw, could even be someone from NXT. I'm really excited to see what they do with this on SmackDown. As I said, we'll probably be discussing it, myself and Michael Sidgwick, in the coming days. But good suggestion, Jake.
For sure.
Jake. Second question today comes from Daniel Navarro, who says, am I the only one that wants to see Stephen Amell wrestle Cody for the TNT Championship? Since Arrow ended, I've been awaiting the days that he would appear on AEW. Of course, Stephen Amell appeared at SummerSlam a few years ago with all that Stardust bollocks and Neville and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, what do you reckon about him cropping up in AEW?
Yeah, I think this makes sense. Like, was it Christopher Daniels he wrestled at All In? And he looked pretty good. He looked all right. A little bit rough around the edges, as you'd expect, but he's got the chemistry with Cody. He's a lot better than most celebrities are when they try professional wrestling. It would only be a one-off for television. Maybe Arrow fans would tune in and go, hey, it's my guy. Or people who know Stephen Amell from other places. Yeah, I think it's a really good idea, and it's something AEW should capitalize on.
Yeah, I would love to see something like that. Like, I think the TNT Championship Open Challenge has been fantastic, and I can't wait for tonight. Scorpio Sky versus Cody. It's going to be a banger. Right, final question today comes from Mike on the mic, who says, what are the chances we'll see Ronda Rousey return to WWE, and do you want to see her compete in Raw Underground, maybe against Shayna Baszler? Yeah, Andy, any developments with Ronda Rousey that you know of?
Whoa, man, how long is this impregnation vacation going on for? It's over a year now. Yeah, I do think we'll see Ronda Rousey back in WWE someday, but at the moment it does seem like her focus is entirely elsewhere, and I think that's a shame because she'd be great in the underground. Obviously, she's one of the most important, if not the most important, women's mixed martial artist in history. So, yeah, she'd be a good fit. I would love to see her back. I think we will see her back. However, how long is a piece of string, man? She's spoken about wanting to start her family. Her head seems to be elsewhere, although she did work the piss out of the internet earlier this year when she was slagging off the fans and stuff. So she's still got wrestling in her, clearly. We know from that. So I hope it's sooner rather than later, but it might be later rather than sooner.
Exactly. It's her personal choice. Let's not pester her online, but tell you what, if you want to bring fans back or bring the attention back to your product once this ongoing global bastard is gone, not many bigger names regularly that you could bring back to draw attention back to you than Ronda Rousey. I'd love to see that. Like you say, I think she was sensational in her rookie year, and I think it's prime ready for her to come back as and when she wants to. All right, let's move on to today's and finally. And yesterday I was jokingly talking about Simon Miller challenging Logan Paul for that 10 grand wrestling match. Sorry to report, Logan Paul is in real trouble now because whilst lovely Simon Miller would have had a fun little match with him, New Jack's found out about it. He tweeted, "I'll kill this mother effer." So, R.I.P. Logan Paul, I guess, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, New Jack is not the first person you would want to have a shoot fight with or a wrestling match with. If you're a total outsider, we know what that man's done in the past. Oh dear, Logan Paul, I don't really know who you are, but I guess there's no point in learning who you are now because you're cooked.
Yes, for those people who are low gang for life, his life is in real threat now, New Jack knows. who he is. Right, let's finish up very quickly by saying happy birthday to generic username at Can't Think of Pun on Twitter, who asked for a little birthday shout out and said a little belated happy birthday to me. So happy birthday to you. Have a great day and just treat yourself today.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say. Treat yourself.
Be good to yourself.
Enjoy the little things. Let us know your thoughts on that and all today's news stories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. Myself and Michael Sidgwick previewing the Wednesday Night War a little bit later on today as well. Plus, you can let us know your thoughts and Twitter questions on Twitter at What Culture WWE. And watch there, follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray
at Andy H. Murray. The H stands for hello.
You follow me at Adam Will. One gets me every time that. Follow us all at What Culture WWE. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.